Now from here, let's start working on the sample data files that have been provided to you along with this course. So let's start connecting and loading that data into Power BI. The data file that has been shared with you is in the CSV format, and I hope you are aware how to load that data into Power BI. Let's get started with loading the first file. Let's click on this Get Data and select Text or CSV. So from here, let's select our first file. I'll select Products and click Open. So as I explained earlier, if you click on this Load button, the data will directly get uploaded to Power BI. But if there are some changes that I need to make to this data, then I should go for the Transform Data option. Now when I click on this Transform Data, I'll be taken to a new page, and this page is the Power Query Editor. Okay, so let's first start with understanding the interface of this Power Query Editor. On the top left, you can see that it shows Untitled Power Query Editor because I have not given it a name yet. So if you save this file with a name, then that name will get displayed. Now here again we have the ribbon tab with tools, help and all. So if you go to file, you can see similar options available over here. Now in this Power Query Editor, you can see that the data that we have connected to our Power BI using the Transform Data option, you can see that the file name is appearing under the Queries section. So the files that you connect to your Power BI, those files will appear over here under the Queries section. Now, if you go to this formula bar, you can see some type of code that is available. That code is called an M code in Power Query. Now on my right, you can see Query Settings. The name field that you see here, you can use that to change the name of your file. So whatever name you give over there becomes the new name of your file. I leave it as it is right now. Now this applied steps that you see here is a really amazing feature of Power Query. So whatever change that you make to your data set, that will be shown as a step in your Power Query. Also, it's very important to note that there is no Control Z in Power Query. So if there is any change that you have done and you want to undo that, you cannot do with Control Z. It does not work here. So what you can do, you have to just cancel that step by clicking on this cross icon. So just cross it and you will get back to your previous step. Okay, let me show you how it works. For example, this product size column. Now I don't want this column, I just want to remove it. So how can I do that? So first let's look at the options in Power Query. Under the Home tab, you can see two options, Manage Columns and Reduce Rows. With the help of this Manage Columns option, I can manage my columns. And with the Reduce Rows, I can manage my rows. Now I want to remove this column. I don't want this anymore in my database. So click here, Remove Columns, and you will be able to see two options, Remove Columns and Remove Other Columns. Now what's the difference between the two? So if I select Delete Column, it will delete only the selected column. If I select the second option, that is Remove Other Columns, it will only keep the selected column and remove all the other columns. So let us now select the Remove column, and when you do that, you can see that a new step has been added which is named Removed Columns. So as I told you before, there is no Control Z. If you have to go back, just cancel that. And you will see that that column has been reinstated. Okay, so that is how you make use of the Applied Steps feature. Let's go back to our Manage Columns. We just saw how to use Remove Columns. Now let's look at the Choose Columns option. This is an interesting option. For example, if I want to compare two columns, I'll need to hide some of the columns. Otherwise, what I'll have to do is I'll have to scroll through the sheet to reach to the required column, which is really tedious. Instead, the better option is to hide the columns which are not required. For example, if I want to compare two columns, I would prefer hiding the rest of the columns. Go to choose columns and click choose columns. Now you will get an option to choose the columns that you would like to keep. So I'll first uncheck all the columns and select only those two that I need. Say I want product name and product price and click OK. So you can see that only those two columns appear now and all the other columns are hidden. So you need not scroll left and right to see the data. Now if you want to have all the other columns back, just go to applied steps and remove this step. Now let's look at the next option, that is go to column. Now suppose I want to jump onto any particular column, say product size, and click OK. I will directly land upon to that column without having to use my mouse or the right and left arrow keys. Now let's look at the keep rows and remove rows option. Now if you go to keep rows and look at the options, the first option is keep top rows. Now keep top rows doesn't mean that it keeps only the top row and removes all the other rows. What it means is, starting from the top, how many rows you would like to keep. So if I say 4 and click OK, you can see that only the top 4 rows from my database are available right now. So that's the function of keep rows option. So this is how you can transform your data based on your requirement. Similarly, if we look at keep bottom rows, it's just the same. We have to mention how many rows from the bottom is that we need to maintain. Now the keep range of rows option means you have to mention starting from which row, ending at which row do you want to keep the rows. Say from row number 15 to row number 30. With keep duplicates, I can still keep all the duplicates that are available in my file. It will not remove any duplicates. And also with keep errors, if I do not want to remove the errors, all the errors will be still displayed in my file. So these were the options for keep rows. Now if we go to remove rows option, earlier we saw the options to keep the rows, and this one is entirely the opposite to that. In this you have the options to remove the rows. So if I want to remove all duplicates, I can select the remove duplicates option. You do not have to apply any function or any formula onto your database. All the duplicate values in your table will be removed. Now remove blank rows option. So we have faced this problem numerous times that we are unable to remove the blank rows from our database. There might be thousands of blank rows present in our database and it's really tough to remove those. But with just a single click of this option, you can remove all the blank rows from your database. So Power Query has made these jobs very simple and easy for us. Similarly, if you look at the sort options, ascending and descending, all you have to do is just select a column and choose the required sort option, and it will be quickly applied to your dataset. Now all the options that we see here, we can get the same options by right-clicking on any column. So you can see those options over here. So once you are done with the changes that you wanted to do on this file and you are satisfied with that, now you want to go to your Power BI. So how can you do that and load the data to Power BI? So after making the changes in Power Query, all you have to do is click on this Close and Apply button. So you can see three options here. The first one is Close and Apply. If you click on that, what happens is it will close your Power Query editor and load your data to Power BI. Now if you select the second option, Apply, that means your data will get loaded to Power BI, but your query editor files will remain open. Now if you go with the third option, Close, then it will not save any changes that you have done and it will close your Power Query editor. So choose Close and Apply to load your data on Power BI and exit the query editor. So you can see that our data is connected to Power BI. Okay, so this is the first file. Now let's connect another file. So click on Get Data. Choose the text CSV option. Now let's say the next file that we want to load into Power BI is Customers. So select that and click Open. So I would recommend that every time, instead of directly loading your data into Power BI, always choose the option Transform Data. The reason being that if you're pretty sure about your data that no changes are required, then you can confidently go ahead and load your data into Power BI. Otherwise, it's better to choose this Transform Data option. So here you can see that our second file is now connected to our Power Query. And next, we will be exploring the Transform option.